You know, when you watch a skyscraper being built, um, there's this absolute expectation of alignment.
Right. Everyone knows what they're doing.
Exactly. You have the architects, the structural engineers, the construction crew. The electricians don't just, show up on a Tuesday and guess where the high voltage wiring should go based on their mood.
Yeah, that would be a disaster.
They have a shared blueprint. It's visible, it's agreed upon, and it is precise. But you step into the world of modern product development and corporate tech operations, and suddenly that beautiful, clear blueprint just vanishes.
It really does. It just disappears.
We're looking at this landscape of disjointed teams, massive communication gaps, and honestly, just a whole lot of operational friction that burns people out. So today, we are looking at the exact blueprint to fix this.
And it's a deep dive you're definitely going to want to stick around for.
We're going on a mission to extract the precise mindsets and operational frameworks that separate true product innovation from, well, bureaucratic stagnation. We're crossing the macro theory of an operational modernization firm called DLX Solution LLC with the real-world battle scars of a senior product leader in the tech industry named Daisy Lee.
Right. Combining the high-level theory with boots-on-the-ground experience.
Exactly. By the time we wrap up, you are going to walk away with a clear understanding of why user-centric discovery isn't just, like, a buzzword, but the ultimate antidote to workplace friction. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Starting with the very core of what discovery actually means, because looking at Daisy's professional profile, it's clear she just lives and breathes this stuff. She identifies as an INTJ personality type, often called the architect.
Oh, that's telling.
Right. And she explicitly states her absolute love for discovering user-centric and unusual solutions.
Which is a fascinating starting point because INTJ isn't just a label. It describes a very specific cognitive wiring.
How so?
Well, it combines introverted intuition, which is the ability to synthesize massive, disparate amounts of background data into a single cohesive vision. And it combines that with extroverted thinking.
Which means what exactly in a business setting?
It means they have this relentless drive to build rigorous real-world systems out of that vision. They don't just daydream. They build the actual machinery to make the dream function.
Wow, okay.
And that brings us to what true product discovery actually is. It's a term that gets thrown around in tech circles so much it's almost, lost its meaning. But operationally, discovery is not just about asking users what color they want a button to be.
Yeah, if you are listening to this and assuming discovery is just like reading a spreadsheet of market trends or sending out a generic survey, the DLX philosophy provides a brilliant counter-narrative.
Right. They look at it totally differently.
They point out that modernizing operations isn't about throwing new software at a problem and hoping it sticks. It starts with diagnosing the actual friction. That's their phase one, the operational diagnostic.
Identifying workflow bottlenecks and operational gaps.
Exactly. Discovery, in the hands of a senior product leader, is that operational diagnostic.
We really have to look at discovery as a defensive weapon against internal executive ego.
Oh, I like that phrasing. Defensive weapon.
Think about how decisions are usually made in a struggling company. The highest paid person in the room has a gut feeling, or an executive wants to copy a competitor's feature.
Right, the hippie-o effect. Highest paid person's opinion.
Exactly. Discovery neutralizes that subjective dominance. When you dive deep into complex fields to find those unusual solutions, you are shifting the burden of proof.
From the leader's gut to the user's actual behavior.
Yes, you are grounding every single product decision in reality, which prevents teams from building massive, expensive products on a foundation of, well, just assumptions.
And that grounding in reality completely changes how a leader operates under intense pressure. There's a powerful testimonial in our sources from Daisy's executive leader and mentor.
Oh, this is a great quote.
I want to read this exactly as it was provided because the phrasing is incredibly telling regarding this exact dynamic.
Go for it.
The executive said, "I found Daisy to be the epitome of professionalism as well as a consistent example of positive energy, no matter what the rigors or challenges of the day may bring."
Which is rare in tech, by the way.
Truly. They go on to say, Daisy's exceptionally intelligent and highly experienced when it comes to software development, architecture, and support. She did not get caught in analysis paralysis.
This is the key right there.
Right. And it finishes with, once she analyzed the data and all aspects, she was quick to move forward in the most effective manner.
Analysis paralysis. That is the psychological trap that destroys so many potentially great product teams.
Because they just keep researching.
Yeah, they understand the need for discovery, so they gather data, and they gather more data, and they run more user interviews. Eventually, they just freeze.
Terrified of making the wrong choice.
Exactly. They get terrified of making a mistake in a complex environment.
But, I mean, gathering data without making a decision is useless. It's like studying a map for 6 months but refusing to put the car in drive.
Right? You're just parked.
You possess all the navigational coordinates, but you're effectively parked in the driveway. And if we look at Daisy's profile, her short-term goal is to build trust across engineering, product management, and leadership.
Which is notoriously difficult.
So how does overcoming that fear, avoiding analysis paralysis, actually function as a mechanism to build internal trust?
What's fascinating here is how the speed of transitioning from data to action alters team psychology.
Unpack that for me.
Trust within a cross-functional team fractures when people feel like their time is being wasted or their input is being ignored. Engineering might want to build the system one way for technical elegance, while leadership wants it another way for quick revenue.
A tale as old as time.
Right. And if a product leader freezes in the face of that conflict, everyone gets frustrated.
Yeah.
But when a leader like Daisy takes that diagnostic data and immediately translates it into decisive, data-driven action.
She removes the subjectivity.
Exactly. She proves to the engineers that she isn't bowing to executive pressure, and she proves to the executives that she isn't getting lost in the technical weeds. She is advocating for the user.
So that swift transition from the diagnostic phase to what DLX calls the pilot implementation phase, validating modernization outcomes quickly, that's the ultimate trust-building mechanism.
That is exactly it.
Which means we move from a philosophical understanding of discovery into the physical reality of how a team actually operates together. We know discovery creates speed and trust. But if you are a listener trying to apply this, how do you actually take all this user data and use it to break down the silos in your own organization?
It's the multi-million-dollar question.
Because Daisy makes her operational preferences very clear, and she outlines a specific hatred for the traditional way companies handle this. She absolutely hates writing PRDs to hand them over to a team.
Yeah, product requirements documents.
Right. She despises that handover waterfall approach and the feeling of being disconnected from the developers.
We should really unpack why a PRD is often so destructive when it's used as a handover tool. A written PRD acts like a high-stakes game of telephone.
Oh, totally.
By the time the instructions travel from the user's initial problem to the product manager's brain, to a 50-page written document, and finally to the engineer who actually has to read and interpret that document.
The original intent is just totally distorted.
Exactly. A written document allows individuals to project their own assumptions onto the text. An executive reads a paragraph and pictures one software interface. An engineer reads the exact same paragraph and builds something entirely different.
It inherently creates silos because it offers the illusion of alignment without the reality of it.
Yes, illusion of alignment is the perfect way to phrase it.
Instead, Daisy focuses heavily on interactive workshops, discussing strategy and roadmaps directly with a diverse, cross-functional team in the room.
Getting everyone together.
Right, and she lists this brilliant long-term goal: utilizing visual thinking methods and approaches for complex product consulting and teaching. We need to talk about the psychological mechanism of visual thinking. Why does drawing a map work so much better than writing a 50-page manual?
Because visual thinking acts like a shared GPS screen. Everyone is forced to look at the exact same spatial coordinates at the same time.
There's nowhere to hide.
Right. When dealing with complex product scopes, if you rely on words, people can hide behind jargon. But visual thinking, like whiteboarding, mapping user flows, drawing out system architectures, it forces objective spatial reasoning over subjective emotional dominance.
Give me an example of that in practice.
So, if an executive demands a new feature, but the visual map clearly shows it disrupts the user's journey from point A to point B, they can't just argue louder to get their way.
Because it's right there on the board.
Exactly. The visual map forces them to physically point to where the feature goes and confront the logic of the system. It neutralizes ego by making the problem visible and tangible.
It brings everyone back to that shared blueprint we talked about at the very beginning. Precisely. But I want to show what this cross-functional collaboration actually looks like when you get into the trenches, because it goes way beyond just drawing nice diagrams on a whiteboard.
Oh, definitely.
Listen to this quote from a senior engineer who worked with Daisy for over 7 years. They said, "I am very much impressed by her ability to multitask, business knowledge, attention to details, and work ethic."
Which is high praise from an engineer.
Seriously. And then they go on to say, her knowledge and skills are not just limited to the business scope. She worked closely with developers on specific issues. She set up a dev environment for the team, did dev QA for developers during the initial development phase.
That level of technical involvement from a product leader is incredibly rare.
But here is my struggle with that, and I have to push back a little bit.
Okay, let's hear it.
If you are paying a senior product leader a massive salary to drive macro strategy and align executives, and they are spending their Tuesday configuring local databases and running initial quality assurance tests, aren't they neglecting their actual job?
I can see why you'd ask that.
I mean, for anyone listening who hasn't had to set up a dev environment, this isn't just downloading an app. It's configuring servers, mapping local code bases, dealing with environment variables. It is highly technical plumbing. Isn't a leader doing that just micromanagement disguised as teamwork? Are they just stepping on engineering's toes?
In a rigid, deeply bureaucratic organization, it absolutely looks like stepping on toes, or even a waste of salary. But we have to analyze this through the lens of workflow bottlenecks.
Okay, take me through that.
Let's look at DLX Solution. They have their WIN values, right? And the I stands for impact. They define impact as focusing on initiatives that deliver measurable operational improvement. So if an entire engineering team is blocked from writing code because they are waiting on a DevOps ticket to get an environment set up, the entire macro strategy is stalled. Zero progress is being made.
So the whole team is just sitting around.
Exactly. If the product leader possesses the technical empathy and the literal skills to dive into the terminal, spin up that environment, and unblock the team, doing that technical plumbing is the highest leverage, highest impact action they can take in that specific moment.
It entirely removes the bottleneck. Instead of filing a ticket and waiting 2 weeks while the project bleeds money, she clears the runway so the planes can take off.
Yes, and we cannot overstate the psychological capital that builds. When an engineering team sees a product leader in the trenches with them, dealing with the frustrating technical realities of a dev environment rather than just sitting in an office demanding faster feature delivery, the silo shatters.
They realize this leader actually understands the physical reality of their work. So we have established the mechanics of a high-functioning ecosystem. We see the visual thinking that disarms ego, the immediate data-driven action that prevents paralysis, and the willingness to do the unglamorous technical plumbing to maintain momentum.
It's a powerful combination.
But people don't develop these intense, almost defensive operational preferences unless they have survived the alternative. Let's look at the dark side of tech operations.
Oh boy, the dark side.
Daisy has an explicit list of must-nots in her profile. She has zero tolerance for command and control culture. She despises inner politics, toxic egos, and meaningless processes, documentations, and meetings that only exist for the sake of bureaucracy but don't actually improve efficiency.
All the classic red flags.
Right. And perhaps the most telling red flag. She avoids teams that are consistently in firefighting mode, focused only on short-term survival.
Firefighting mode is a fascinating pathology in corporate environments. It is a symptom of a system that has completely lost its connection to user-centric discovery.
Because everything is an emergency.
Exactly. When leadership refuses to diagnose their operational gaps, like when they skip the DLX modernization blueprint entirely, every single minor issue escalates into a fire. You aren't strategically navigating a roadmap. You are just reacting to the loudest, angriest executive complaint.
Which is exhausting.
It is. And the twisted part is that toxic cultures often reward firefighting. They praise the people who stay until midnight fixing a broken release, rather than praising the product leader who instituted the visual mapping process that prevented the bug in the first place.
It creates a culture where heroes are born by putting out fires that shouldn't even exist. And if you are listening to this and realizing your team is constantly in that mode, you probably also know the inevitable result. People check out.
Burnout is real.
The engineers stop suggesting new ideas. The designers stop pushing boundaries. They disengage because the system punishes proactive thought and only rewards reactive panic.
Exactly right.
Which brings me to this incredibly revealing quote from a senior leader about how Daisy handles exactly that kind of toxic, disengaged environment.
Well, let's hear it.
They said, "She is a brilliant and passionate individual who takes control of the situation when group members are disengaged and drives the team to the results. She is not afraid of taking the challenges even if no one dare to risk."
That's huge.
They continue. "She has exhibited consistency in her ability and remains committed and focused. Her willingness and the capacity of continuous learning and I were amazed by how quickly she learned and adopted them."
This is where we see the rubber meet the road regarding taking risks. When a team is disengaged, it is almost always due to that command and control culture crushing their psychological safety.
Because if they speak up, they get penalized.
Right. People feel like their input is meaningless, so they retreat. A typical bureaucratic manager steps into that void by barking orders, enforcing attendance, or demanding more status updates.
Which just makes it worse.
Much worse. But a leader utilizing discovery methods takes control differently. They take the risk of subverting the broken process. If the mandatory weekly status meeting is draining the team's soul, they cancel it and replace it with an interactive visual workshop.
So taking a risk in a bureaucracy often means putting your own neck on the line to shield the team from meaningless processes.
Exactly.
Here's where it gets really interesting. If we look back at the DLX WIN values, world-class, impact, nimble, let's focus on that third value, nimble.
Okay.
DLX defines it as adapting quickly and working pragmatically to move modernization forward. Being nimble through continuous learning is the exact polar opposite of the rigid bureaucracy Daisy despises. Bureaucracy demands that you follow the established process, even if the process is actively destroying the product.
That is so true. A nimble leader looks at a disengaged team, looks at a broken workflow, and says, the map we are using is wrong. We need to learn a new way to operate today.
They just pivot.
They adapt. They learn a new framework, test a new software tool, or restructure the communication flow because their ultimate loyalty is to the outcome, not the optics of compliance.
And that brings us to the ultimate endgame of these practices. We need to fuse Daisy's individual human leadership style with DLX's broader organizational model.
This is where it all comes together.
Because when you analyze the DLX four-phase engagement model, it outlines the exact journey a visionary leader takes an organization on.
Let's map it out. Phase 1 is diagnostic, assessing workflows and identifying bottlenecks.
Like we talked about earlier.
Right. Phase 2 is the modernization blueprint, defining the strategy and aligning stakeholders. Phase 3 is pilot implementation, launching a focused initiative to validate outcomes quickly.
Getting that quick win.
Exactly. And Phase 4 is advisory, providing ongoing support and continuous learning to scale those improvements. A senior product leader operating at Daisy's level is the internal engine executing these phases.
It's like she enters a complex, potentially toxic product space. She uses user-centric discovery methods as her phase 1 diagnostic to find the friction.
Yes.
She utilizes visual thinking workshops as her phase 2 blueprint to align the warring executives. She avoids analysis paralysis and even sets up the dev QA herself to launch the phase 3 pilot implementation.
Breaking down those bottlenecks.
Exactly. And then she leverages continuous learning to act in a phase 4 advisory capacity, pushing the team toward long-term strategic growth.
It proves that operational modernization isn't just about buying better software. It requires a human catalyst. Someone has to actually drive the cultural shift away from silos and toward collaboration.
And the proof that this human-centric approach works isn't just in the fact that products get shipped. It's in how it fundamentally alters the capability of the people involved.
It lifts everyone up.
I want to share the final quote from our sources today. This is from an indirect senior manager, and it perfectly encapsulates the value of this mindset.
Okay.
They said, Daisy is intelligent, skilled at handling complex tasks, and dedicated to timely and complete accomplishment of assigned roles. She is an excellent team member, one who strives to make both her own team and others with which she interacts better.
And that last part is so crucial.
Right. And they end with this warning. If you seek an excellent employee who can quickly and competently handle whatever challenges you throw her way, you would be well served to spend less time trying to match gritty details and more time convincing Daisy that she should want the job you have to offer.
Wow. That warning at the end regarding gritty details is profound.
It's the ultimate validation of this entire operational approach. A leader who dismantles silos and operates from a foundation of discovery doesn't just build good software. They elevate the entire operational capability of the organization. They make everyone around them better.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is the existential challenge facing organizations today. DLX emphasizes aligning operations with measurable business performance.
Which you don't get from bureaucracy.
Exactly. You do not achieve world-class performance by hyper-focusing on checking boxes on a job description or by rigidly adhering to a waterfall PRD process.
Yeah.
You get it by creating an environment that attracts visionaries. If your hiring process or your daily workflow is obsessed with matching gritty details and enforcing meaningless rules, you are actively repelling the very people who possess the cognitive wiring to redesign your broken systems.
You are pushing away the architects who actually know how to read the blueprint.
Beautifully said.
So we have covered a massive amount of ground today. We have seen that user-centric discovery isn't just a pleasant concept to discuss in a boardroom. It is a rigorous, often defensive practice.
It really is.
It is the discipline of gathering data to neutralize internal ego and prevent analysis paralysis. It's using visual thinking as a shared GPS to smash through the communication silos that separate engineering from leadership.
Absolutely.
It's having the humility and the technical empathy to dive into the terminal, configure a dev environment, and do the unglamorous plumbing to keep the team moving. And above all, it is fiercely fighting back against the toxic, reactive firefighting that keeps companies stuck in the past. So what does this all mean for you listening right now?
Look closely at the architecture of your own organization today. Are your daily processes designed to empower continuous learning, visual alignment, and nimble adaptation? Or are you drowning in meaningless bureaucracy designed solely to enforce command and control?
That's the real test.
Because if you're spending all your time matching gritty details instead of empowering outcomes, you aren't just slowing down your product timeline. You might just be driving the best innovators right out your door.
It is a critical question to ask yourself as you evaluate the foundation of your own teams. Are you forcing your people to build a skyscraper without a shared blueprint, or are you handing them the tools to design something world-class? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep exploring, keep questioning the mechanics of those everyday processes, and we will catch you next time.